Happy Easter, everybody. JC here. Let's get on the road. Push the little blue button. Head out of my home driveway. Here we go. So yeah, Easter morning. It is about 10:20 a.m. here in Porter, Texas. I am actually getting over to a temple service for my father-in-law who passed away a few years ago. All right, go to the stop sign, take a right turn. So that's where we're headed to today. Got a little bit of a temple service for my wife's dad. So that'll be nice. Haven't gone to the Vietnamese Buddhist temple on the north side of Houston and basically since he passed. So it'll be nice to go back there and see some people that I haven't seen in a while. Yeah, hope everybody's having a wonderful Easter and that the kids found all the eggs and the candy. Nice church service if you do that as well. And then spending time with family today, cooking out or going out for lunch or something. But yeah, it's a weekend about family, right? And remembrance. So, all right, coming up to North Park Drive. I'm going to take a right turn here. But we got to wait for the oncoming vehicles to get through. All right, we got a green, but we got to wait for the Ford. I think that's an Explorer. I think that's something smaller than an Explorer. That's interesting. They call that the Excite? Let me see if I can tell. I haven't seen a, let's see, that is a Escape. Ford Escape. How did I think of that? Oh, we got some traffic. Oh, because of the church. Yeah. So the Catholic Church is right over to our right. Well, you actually, up here at this traffic light, you turn right and the church is about a quarter of a mile down that road. So it makes sense that there's so much traffic trying to turn right there, going to their Easter Mass. So this is my first FSD video with commentary in quite a while. I have, if y'all haven't noticed, I've been doing quite a bit of what I call my Uber Tesla FSD Chronicles. And so, yeah. I started doing Uber just a little bit over a week ago. And the main reason why I started doing, well, there's multifaceted reasons, but the primary reason why is since Tesla is going to be launching the robotaxi service in Austin in literally just a couple of months. it makes sense that Houston likely won't be that far behind, right, in getting robo-taxi. Now, that being said, when I say the term won't be that far behind or will be next, that doesn't mean it's going to be the following week or the following month. No clue. Obviously, that is going to depend significantly. Well, it looked like we were trying to get over to the right, and then we decided against it. That is going to depend significantly on how successful of a rollout they have of the robo-taxi in Austin, right? So, fingers crossed that everything goes according to plan. My personal opinion is it's going to do better than even folks within Tesla could imagine. And one thing I can tell you from having done Uber now, again, not that long, but about 8 or 9 days. Oh, we got a big old pothole right there, and of course we go right through. I just don't know how much it can avoid that one, though. That's a tough one right there. It's a small one, but man, you saw that. It's a pothole. Yeah, robo-taxi. Yeah, I think that Houston is just ripe for something like a robo-taxi service. Like I said, I have not been doing Uber that long. I have to look at, I think I've got 8 or 9 days under my belt of doing Uber drives. But I will tell you this, I've been for somebody who decided to get it going about a little bit over a week ago. I will tell you, I've gone pretty hard in the paint. I haven't gone as hard I haven't necessarily treated it like a job, quote unquote, right? Because I don't need a job. I'm retired. I had a job. But I've been going pretty hard in the paint for a first week. I don't know if it was my sunglasses or the going through that road construction, but it threw up a nag at me. That's okay. Just leave the sunglasses on for today. Yeah, I have done a lot of trips already, so I'll take a look at the Uber app later, but I think I'm right around 100, maybe a little bit north of 100 total trips. So I have I've done a lot of it. Now again, like I said, there are folks out there that really work hard at this Uber game, and they get in 12 plus hours a day of Uber driving, and they've got higher status. So like many of y'all, I don't know if any of y'all know the tiering status of Uber, but they've got these, different blue, gold, I guess silver, not gold, and then platinum. I think there's something in between gold and platinum, but anywho, obviously those designations are going to be based on how many trips you've done, your 5-star rating, all of that sort of stuff. So I'm already at Uber Gold. I mean, I got to Uber Gold in literally less than a week, and quite frankly, that's due to the amount of trips I've done. I decided I really wanted to kind of roll up my sleeves and get out there and see what the landscape of Houston was from a rideshare perspective. So as I was saying, there are folks, I don't not for a minute do I want to say that I have gone as hard in the paint as some others, because like I said, I know some that have done it 12 plus hours a day. The way that the Uber rules work, but the way that the Uber rules work is that you can be online for 12 hours straight. For 12 hours, let's just say, you don't even have to be straight, but you can be online for 12 hours. But once you hit 12 hours online, you are forced to take a break for 6 hours. Right? And then as soon as that 6 hour span is done, then you can go back online again for 12 hours. So if you think about that, that gate basically gives you 18 available hours, if you so desire, and you've got the stamina to Uber drive. So there are folks out there that put in 12, 14, maybe even more than that, just depending on how young they are, their stamina, their desire, type of vehicle they have. And I will tell you this too. You can make money in Houston, Texas doing Uber. I have figured. So there's definitely some learnings I've had from doing Uber. One of them is you can absolutely make a living doing Uber. Now, you've got to do certain things, and you've got to have certain qualities to your vehicle, and quite frankly, maybe even your, how you interact with people. So just to let, I'll spoiler alert, without really even trying, I have averaged about $25 an hour here in Houston Uber driving. And I will tell you, that $25 an hour average, I have done that, most of that without any status whatsoever, other than blue, right? So pretty much when you start out, you, I think they kind of give you the ability to have the perks of blue status. They give you so many exclusive requests, as they call it. You can use their trip radar and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's without any status. So I do not have the gold or the platinum or what that was. But I got another nag because of it. So the vehicle in front of us swerved to avoid it. We did not. So it ended up just being like, I don't know what it was, like a piece of plastic. It wasn't a big deal. It was like a black piece of plastic. I mean, it was a large piece of plastic, but it wasn't, like an object that you necessarily had to avoid. But as you can tell, we did not try to. Yeah, and the other thing I will tell you, that $25 hour average is without me trying to pick and choose my rides. I went, I did watch some YouTube videos on folks that are proficient at Ubering, right? They've done it for a long time, and they've got, all the status in the world, thousands of trips under their belt. And so there are definitely tricks to the trade if you're trying to maximize earnings. So anybody out there that's interested in, if they're looking to possibly do Uber as something truly for income, truly to put clothes on kids' backs and food in the refrigerator. I highly recommend you listen to a YouTube channel called The Rideshare Guy, and they have some great videos from a lot of different folks on how to maximize earnings. Well, I have really not done any of those because I wanted to get to see the city of Houston. I wanted the algorithm to lead me to where the Uber algorithm thought they needed me the most, right? Because my initial strategy here is not to maximize earnings, but to see where a ride share is needed in this city. Because those are not one and the same thing. Where you may want to get to in a surge area, well, I guess those could be similar, but not all the time, right? So obviously, surge areas would be where you'd need a lot of robo-taxis. But the highest paying fares may not always be where you need all the robo-taxis, right? So I've just kind of let the algorithm lead me around for this first week or so. That was just my decision. And so, yeah, it's led me to parts of the city that, quite frankly, some of them I've never been to. Some of them I've been to, but it's been 15, 20 years since I've been there. But it's been really nice. It's been really eye-opening. But yeah, to stay on the earnings part of it, yeah, I have just, as a trip comes up, I took it. And so that's a big part of probably why I got gold status so quick, is that I've done a whole bunch of rides. I've accepted almost everything. And I've got a 5-star rating. So I want to say out of the 100 or so trips I've done, over half of those people have actually gone ahead and rated me. That's the other thing I've noted, is not everybody does an Uber rating. So I get the sense that a lot of folks that ride Ubers, maybe they don't do it all the time and they forget that you can rate your driver. And so it's over half, but it's not all of them. And fortunately for me, every single one of my ratings has been a 5-star. So that's been great. So yeah, long story short, it was pretty easy for me to get to that, just based on doing so many rides in the first week. But yeah, and so I want to acknowledge that when I say $25 an hour, that does include tips. So I am not excluding tips from that figure. But I've been pleasantly surprised. I kind of came into this in my first week, like I said, again, just let the algorithm take me where it will. And I would say that maybe a third of my riders tip. And for those of y'all that have never done Uber before, y'all might be like, why? People don't tip. I mean, you go out to eat, you tip. Yeah, I don't think that holds true for Uber rides. And I understand why. Because when people eat out, that's still, generally speaking, a once in a every while sort of thing, right? That you would eat. So, and you're truly getting manual service. Like, you are getting, like, somebody's on their feet, you know, delivering you food, and you know that that's the majority of their income is their tip. You know, and again, I'm sure there's some Uber drivers out there trying to make that will want to slap me for saying this, but yeah, I'll just say it's like driving for Uber is not the same as waiting tables or bussing tables. It's from a physical exertion standpoint, it's not the same. And plus, you know, without tips, you're making a lot more as an Uber driver than you are as a waitress, right? Because of that special wage. Waitresses and waiters are allowed to be paid by restaurant owners. So, anywho, I did not come into this with the expectation that everybody just tips 15%. They do not. They do not. What I would say is it's about a third. Now, I do have, I will say, when somebody wants to talk, I can jaw jack with the best of them. I am a blabbermouth. So, for that group, that contingent of people that wants to get into a vehicle and be entertained, and there are, well, let me just tell you, it's about a third. About a third of my passengers really like to jaw jack like me. Those are my best tips. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The best tips are usually the ladies that just want to have a nice conversation on the way home from work. I'd say my second best tippers are, again, the ladies that get into the Uber and just want you to shut the hell up. Give them a nice, pleasant ride home and leave them in peace and let them sleep or look at their phone and scroll through Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is they're doing. Look at text messages, but just leave them alone for the next 10, 15, 20 minutes, however long it is. In some cases where I live, 30 minutes. And then I'd say there's just 2/3 of passengers that they just quite frankly can't afford to tip. There's some of my passengers that are entirely dependent on Uber for their mode of transportation to get to and from work. And I'm going to be honest with you, I totally understand them not tipping. Like, for them, every single dollar they spend on transportation is a dollar not being spent on food or not being spent on rent. Like, every single dollar of their paycheck is accounted for. And it's not savings, unfortunately. So, for those folks, yeah, I don't expect a tip, right? I am providing. They don't tip the bus driver. You don't tip the subway person, you know, and so I don't have it. I totally understand it. It makes all the sense in the world to me. So yeah, and again, this is all based on just a little bit over a week, about 100 rides. So take that for what it's worth. That is, you know, most statistical sampling, they would want a population greater than 100 sampling units, right? So maybe I will see different trends as I do more, but that's what I'm seeing thus far. But like I said, also, I am not trying to engineer the algorithm. I am not trying to hit every surge area. I'm not trying to chase the storm, as they say. I basically pull out of my driveway after being, you know, getting charged up as, you know, up to 80, maybe a little bit north of 80 as much as possible. And I just turn on the app. And I let them know I have no area preferences. Basically anywhere in the greater Houston metro area. Now, obviously, that's generally going to still keep you around wherever you happen to be at that time. But what will inevitably happen is, even though I initially am in the northeast side of Houston, what inevitably will happen, if you're open to it, you leave all your area preferences off, is that somebody in my northeast area of Houston needs to go to another area of Houston. And so you do that, and then the next thing you know, then you're in that area of Houston for an hour or two. And then the next thing you know, you pick up somebody that needs to go to another area. And so that's what happens if you do it for, you know, at least 4 to 8 hours. If you do it from anywhere 4 to 8 hours, you're going to get traversed around different parts of town. And really the only thing that will take you out of town, unless you do it yourself through trying to focus on a surge area, right? Yeah, unless you do it yourself, is that you are going to be in that area for a while until you pick up somebody that needs to go to another area. And then once you get to that area, highly likely you're going to be there for an hour or so. But, you know, it's a great way to see the city. And like I said, I'm doing this primarily to see how Robotaxi will be, then to meet new people. It's fun. I love it. I'm a people person. You know, I know people say that about themselves. I think I can pretty fairly, you know, confidently say that I am an extrovert people person type of person. You know, and we've all got our different downfalls and pros and cons and all that sort of stuff. One thing I've never had a problem with is jaw-jacking with somebody. My problem is shutting my damn mouth. That's my bigger problem, is knowing when to keep the mouth shut. So learning how to do that as well. And you got to do that with this. That is a quality that I'm going to tell you what, I don't want to for a minute make it seem like you need to be an extrovert or a people person to do Uber, because you do not. In fact, I would tell you that the person probably best suited for Ubering is somebody who is overall an introvert, but not so much an introvert that they can't carry on a conversation. And the reason I say that is because, like I told you before, 1/3 of your riders are going to be people that really like to jaw jack. And if you're a good jaw jacker, then you're going to drive your hourly rate up just off of their backs, because they're going to tip you well. You have a good 30-minute conversation. Like I had a $15 tip last night on a $7. I had a $15 tip on a $7.50 trip, simply because for that 10 to 15 minute ride, we had a great conversation. And so that'll happen with that third. You can have something like that with that third. But make no mistake about it, 2/3 of your riders are just going to want you to shut the hell up and leave them in peace and just give them a nice, chill ride to their work or back home from work or to a friend's house or to go meet their friend, you know, whatever it is. But that's 2/3 of them. So if you think about it, the personality that is the best suited for something like that is going to be somebody who is, you know, I'd say naturally an introvert. Like that might be what you would call their baseline personality, is someone who's a bit introverted, so that it's easy for them to be chill and just let people be. But somebody that can still carry on a conversation. I think that individual is probably going to be the best suited for Uber. Because quite frankly, me being kind of an extroverted blabbermouth, know everything, Cliff Clavin type of useless factoid type of dude, you know, it's the 2/3 I've got to really be cognizant of, you know, because I could get some tips you know, granted, usually that crowd is not going to tip you much, but they might do like $1 or $2, you know, somewhere between, probably like $1 or $2 tip. That's usually what that crowd does on each ride. But you're missing out on those if you keep, you know, blabbing away. All right. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And here we go up here. Let's see if it will actually go into the plane. I disengaged, but I don't even, it may go in, but yeah, okay. So I disengaged you and I didn't even need to. All right. But I am going to disengage here so that I do not, let's see if I'm pretty sure I came in the right way. You know, I'm not about to. This may be a hard day to find a parking spot because it's Easter Sunday. So I get it. This may be a difficult day. Well, let's go find one. There we got a Tesla Model Y. Let's see how many Teslas we got out here today. Not many. A lot of trucks and SUVs. This is Texas. Even at a look, I'm telling you, Vietnamese temple. Still have the SUVs and the trucks. Let them, if they're leaving. Yes, they are. All right. Let me pull in. Not hit this nice Lexus to my left. Pull up. All right. Well, I'm going to run in there and meet up with my wife and my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and all my in-laws. And I'll be back out here in a little while. All right, everybody. See you in a little bit. Bye-bye. All right, everybody. Done at the temple. Back in the Tesla. Let's get on out of here. All right, I went ahead. We're on grass. I'm going to see if this thing will back up. I doubt it is. It's probably going to need my help. So there's not a parking lot here. You can see we're on grass and gravel. But let's just see. Now I'll help it out a bit. Let's see how it does. All right. Avoiding the cars. Straighten up on its own. Get off the grass, get on the gravel. Go by the pond. Go a little slower through the gate. Good job. Come up to the street in front of the temple. Very good. So the only thing it could not do on its own was reverse out of the parking spot that I put it in on the grass. But once I gave it an accelerator push, it took care of it after that. So that was pretty good. So yeah, I had a nice time at the temple. We basically were there for 2.5 hours. Nice to honor my father-in-law. Like I said, he passed away a few years ago. So it's fairly common in Vietnamese culture during the month. This was the month that he passed away, that we honor him. All right, got the right blinker on. Still got cars coming though here on Gears Road. So we're gonna have to wait just a little bit. Still got cars coming. And should be good right here. And there we go. Great job. So yeah, it was nice to do that. See some family that you don't see every day. You know, I see my wife and mother-in-law pretty much daily, but other nephews, nieces, cousins, by marriage. Good to see them. So I had a couple of traditions that we did, and then had some lunch, and now headed home. My wife and my sister-in-law went ahead and headed out in my sister-in-law's car, and I'm alone, mainly because I think I'm going to go stop by Sports Clips on the way home and get a haircut. I'm getting a little shaggy in the back. Obviously not on top. My days of getting shaggy on top are done. But it's been a while since I got a snip. So, and I saw that they were open even on Easter Sunday. So, stop by there. Hopefully there's not too long, but it's too long of a wait. I may just wait till tomorrow, but we'll see. I think I got the Sports Clip app still on my iPhone. I may make, if we get to a stoplight, I may pick up my phone for a little bit and see if I can make an online reservation. But not a big whoop. Like I said, if the wait is too long when I get there, I'll just head on home and get it tomorrow sometime. One of the perks of being retired, I can go get my hair cut anytime. But I was feeling a little shaggy, and when you get dressed up, not really dressed up, but get yourself back in business casual and go see family, all of a sudden I became a little more conscious about it. All right, 4-way stop. Making our way towards the Beltway. So yeah, before we got to the temple, I was talking about Uber, and that I've recently decided to start Ubering, and it has been extremely rewarding. Not just from a data gathering standpoint, because that is one of the things I wanted to do with this, is that I wanted to see how conducive of a city Houston, Texas is to potential robo-taxi, how receptive the general population would be. Not us 1%, folks that, get on X and go back and forth with each other about brand damage and all that sort of stuff. I'm talking about the other 99% of the world that just gets by every day and would actually be the vast majority of any sort of robo-taxi. And so far, what I have found is an amazing receptiveness to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I am, at this point, even 100 trips in, I am very confident that people would love something like that. Number one, people look at it, at least the riders that I pick up, it's like a perk to get picked up in a Tesla. So I don't know how you quantify or don't quantify brand damage, but of the 100 people that I've had as riders, there's zero of that. They just don't have the time or the privilege to even think about and fight about stuff like that. That's the other thing that's been really eye-opening to me, is how many things online and in any of our communities, it's not even a bubble. A bubble would be too broad to talk about. It's like, bubble makes it sound like it's 5 to 10% of the population, and we just aren't. The bulls and bears, all of us that fight over this, we're measly. And I mean, I can't talk about any other city in our country, but I can speak about Houston, Texas. A metro area of 10 million people. However you count it, the third or fourth largest city in the country. And they would do it in a heartbeat if it was cheaper. That's the number one thing. Can you make it cheaper? Because my typical rider uses it as their form of daily transportation to and from work, or to, like I was saying before, it's you know, we don't have a train system in Houston, and it's a very geographically spread out, dispersed, and large metro area. So a whole bunch of very cheap, affordable, long-lasting robo-taxis roaming around. And if they were significantly cheaper than a human manned, and when I say manned, I mean in the biblical sense. I'm not saying all Ubers are all guys. There's plenty of ladies that drive for Uber too. But yeah, that's going to be the primary consideration. They just don't even think about any of the stuff we talk about on X, both bulls and bears. So I'm not just picking on the bears here. I'm a little bit to the bulls as well. Is, you know, we get so focused myopically on our own specific Tesla and how special it is, and it's a child of ours. And well over 90% of the population can't even finance a 2015 Honda Accord. So that's where the TAM is. I'm all for these more affordable vehicles, don't get me wrong. You know, we definitely need to sell cars in the meantime. But make no mistake about it, that is not the long-term, that should not be the long-term trajectory of any transportation company. I'm not even just going to say car company. I'm going to say anybody that deals in transportation of human beings. All right, good job getting over there. There's a lot of traffic today right now on the Beltway. We're making our way. We're still going to need to get over another one here eventually. And going to be, nope, not there. Not enough space. We're going to keep going up. Let's see how we do. We got a little gap there if you want to take it. That truck, there you go. Great job. Wow. That was fantastic. That was fantastic. Now, I don't know what's going on up here. Also, we actually need to get over another lane. And so there's about 3 or 4 cars ahead of us. Somebody was completely stopped. We probably will too. Does it go? Well, I don't know. Are we going to be able to get in here without stopping? Yes, we are. We did better than the humans. Great job, Tesla FSD. Excellent job. Went from 5 lanes down to 2. So yeah, it has been extremely rewarding doing these Uber rides. So, as a lot of you on YouTube have likely noticed, the vast majority of my videos here in the last week or so have been focused on Uber rides. And they're evolving over time. Like when I first started out, I just posted everything. Like if I did because it was my first day on Uber, right? So every ride that I did on my first day, I posted all of them. So some of them were better than others. And I will also say I'm learning as I go on how to specifically edit rideshare type of videos, you know, protecting privacy and all that sort of stuff. So I'm definitely, I think I'm locked in there on that as well. I've got my blurs down. And that takes a while. I'm going to tell you, even in Final Cut Pro. Final Cut Pro is excellent, but I will tell you, especially when you have multiple passengers in your Tesla, like not just one, but multiple, and if you're taking them to a place that might need a little bit more privacy, sometimes I've got to, edit a video 4 or 5 times just to get those blurs in. So I've been doing that, but again, it's worth it, and I want to obviously maintain privacy. Little easier when somebody's going from work to a bar, or going from, some public location to another public location. I have to do less editing on that, because really the only thing you got to blur out is the person. And you don't really have to worry about, like, if somebody's going from McDonald's to Whataburger, I'm not going to blur out my screen on that. But obviously, if it's involving anybody's home, making sure to blur stuff like that out. So yeah, take a little more time than I have to in my typical FSD videos where I'm alone or I'm with family. What else? Oh, so probably a question of like, well, now that you're at 100 rides, can you kind of say, like, granted, you generally don't want to do statistics based off of a population of 100 sampling units. Usually you want multiples of that. But I can tell you, based off of 100, I have had about, what I'm thinking of right now is where I had more than 2 passengers. 1, 2, 3. I have had 4, maybe 5. No more than 5. Let's just say for argument's sake, 5 to give them the. So out of 100 rides that I have done, 5 of those rides involved 3 people. So again, you shouldn't do statistics based off of a small population of 100 sampling units. But if we were going to do that, and I'm not saying we would, but if we were, then we would say 5% of all rideshare rides are 3 passengers. Something more than 2. That's pretty small. Like, basically 90, to put it another way, 95% of my ride shares have been 2 or less people. And quite honestly, I would say 80% have been 1. That one don't hold me to. I would need to go back and look at the tape on that, because you can't go by the Uber rides, right? Because I've showed up where, it says meet this individual, and then you show up there and there's 2 or 3 people, which is fine. I mean, I got the room. But I would say, just thinking back in my memory bank, I would say 80% of my ride shares have been 1 passenger, 15% have been 2, and 5%, that I can definitely tell you, 5% have been 3 passengers. And quite frankly, with this refresh Model 3 long range, I can actually fit 4. Because I've fit 3. One of those groups of 3 were completely in the back of my Tesla. So you can do it. You could get 4 people as passengers in my Model 3 long range all-wheel drive refresh 2024. Now, you wouldn't want to travel 500 miles like that, but could you travel around Houston like that for a 10, 15, even 30-minute ride. Of course you could. So, yeah, there's no doubt about it. When they refresh the Model 3, they definitely put more leg room in the back. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I have actually heard that from a small handful of my passengers. Like, that's the other thing. So let me put a pin in that one about the leg room in the Model 3 refresh. Is that most of my passengers have never been in a Tesla before. Not all, but, and again, this one, I won't have empirical evidence on, because I don't query every single person that gets into my vehicle. But I can tell by the way they get into the Tesla. You know what I'm talking about. The folks that have been in one don't fumble around with the door handle. The folks that have never been in one, they're like, where is your door handle? Right off the bat, you know, they've likely never been in a Tesla. Or they tell you, this is my first ride in a Tesla. I would say, again, probably 80 to 85% of my riders have been first time in a Tesla in their life. And I would say 99% or 98% have never experienced FSD before they got into my Tesla. And they all love it. I have had zero Tesla hate. I have had zero comments about Elon. I have had none of that. I have had some really nice comments about Elon and about folks changing their perception of Tesla lately for the good. But I would say those are pretty few as well. I would say out of my riders, 90 to 95% just don't. Like Scarlett O'Hara. Like Rhett Butler said to Scarlett O'Hara, frankly, JC, I just don't give a damn. But I love your car. I love, what's it called? Tesla? I love it. I love it. So, what I would say, based on my small sample size, in the city of Houston, Texas, there is zero brand damage. So that's a positive, but here's the con. There's also very little brand awareness. So I don't know which is worse. Like, there was an old saying that said, any press is good press, right? And I'm not so sure I subscribe to that philosophy. But whether you subscribe to it or not, one thing I can definitely tell you, in the 100 or so riders that I've had, there is very little brand awareness about Tesla FSD. Almost not that much about Tesla itself, but definitely not Tesla FSD. Yeah, I've had, I think, 2 riders who have told me they experienced FSD before, but they also both said that it was, you know, a couple of years ago. And so they got to see the improvement. But 98 out of 100, this was their first experience of FSD. And the typical statement I get is, wow, that was amazing. That was great. I'm blown away. I didn't know that existed. And so what you hope is that because they had such a great experience having their first ride in a Tesla and their first experience of FSD, that, you know, it won't be top of mind, obviously, because they got a lot of other stuff going on. But when the topic of Tesla comes up, they're going to have something to say now. And that stuff can spread. The butterfly effect. And when it's time for Robotaxi to launch in Houston, and it will, we're going to have the city canvassed. That's what I want to do. That's my number one goal. My number one goal is to both assess and to canvass. My secondary goal is to just enjoy myself, right? I enjoy being physically in the midst of people, in the realm of people. I love being on X, don't get me wrong. I love getting on spaces. I love chit-chatting with everybody. Some of my best friends, and I have met these folks. I mean, we don't see each other all the time, obviously, but we meet at events. But some of the best people in the world are in the Tesla and X community, or Tesla community on X. But that's not enough for me. I really do. I get energized from people. And I used to get that from my profession, being a client service partner at KPMG. And I like golf, but I don't love it. I like fishing, but I don't love it. And I want to do something. And this is, for me, it's almost like the perfect thing to do, especially all these things coming together. I'm getting nagged, I guess, because of my sunglasses. Let's scoot this up a little bit. Sometimes if I scoot up a little bit, I've noticed that helps. I don't know if it's because my long legs, I like to scoot the chair back all the way. And sometimes I wonder if I'm getting nagged with my sunglasses, mainly because I'm sitting so far back for my legs. But if I scoot up, like this is the way I normally drive when I'm doing Uber, because I like to, be able to reach my phone much easier, which I have on my Jowua iPhone adapter and holder here. This is a must-have. If you are a Tesla owner, this right here, if there's nothing else in the world, you deck out in your Tesla, you have got to get one of these Jowua iPhone or smartphone chargers and holders. It is awesome. It has been like perfect for Uber too. Like Uber ought to sponsor Jowua. They really should. And no, I am not sponsored by Jowua. I just love their products. So that's why I'm giving them a shout out. I'm not sponsored by anybody other than the folks in the 4th Ward that get into my Tesla every day. And those are the folks I want sponsoring me. The 4th Ward is a community in Houston, by the way, for those of y'all that don't live in Houston. All right. Pulling up to the Sports Clips. Let's see how we do in the Sports Clips parking lot. Keep on going up. Let's see how we do. Let's see how we do. All right. Making our turn. Gonna try to park. Let's see how we do. Not bad. We're on the line though, so I am gonna need to. Yeah, you can see we're right on the line, right, or a little bit over the line, if you will. So let's go ahead and straighten up. And then I am going to, you see the reflection of my beautiful Tesla. And I'm going to run in and get a haircut. Be back in a little bit. Bye-bye. Well, I lied to you. They're closed. I should have figured that out when I drove up here, but it said they were open online. I don't think they updated their stuff. See, I should have called ahead or you looked at the app. Oh, well, we're not far from my home. So, all right, let's head on to the casa. I guess I'll get a haircut tomorrow. See how we do going home. Put on the rear camera. Yep. I guess he didn't see me knock on the door or look in the door. All right. Backing up. straighten up. I am going to go ahead and scoot up my chair again. I'm going to see if that helps cut down on the sunglass nag. All right. Coming out of the Sports Clip parking lot, come up to a stop sign. There we go. Yep, I'll just come on by tomorrow. I mean, it makes sense. Why would I think they'd be open on Easter? But my wife told me that, and I was like, well, it says they're open. You know, sometimes they do open. Like, I don't know. Probably stupid on my part, but hey, it's on the way home. Might as well. No harm, no foul. All right, we got cars turning right there. Yeah, it is not abiding by people's turn signals. I can continue to confirm that. Is that at least on version 13.2.8, when somebody has their right turning signal on, FSD doesn't care. They're going to wait for you to turn in. But yeah, as far as like, going back to the Model 3, yeah, so I have had a couple of the customers I've had, a couple of the riders who have been in Teslas before. As you might imagine, most folks that do Uber in a Tesla, it's a Model 3 or Model Y, right? Let's just be blunt. You're not going to have a lot of folks in a Model S or a Model X, normally doing Uber rides voluminously. So if folks are getting a Tesla to do rideshare, it makes way more sense to get a Model 3, just from an efficiency standpoint, cost, obviously, but everything else included. It is just a rideshare beast. So any folks that have been in a Tesla before, generally speaking, it's been another Model 3, and it's been an older Model 3. So I have had a couple of people that have been in Teslas before tell me they can tell there's more leg space in this refresh. And the other things that they tell me they really like, they like the extra leg space in the back, and they love the ambient lighting. So the light bar, that was a tremendous touch to the refresh Model 3. And my understanding is that ambient light bar is also on the Model Y. So hopefully going forward, that the ambient light bar is just part of the Tesla, sexy lineup, and whatever else we add to the sexy lineup as it comes. What else have they said? They love the screen. Nice, big, sizable screen, a little bit bigger. They like the steering wheel shape in this one a little bit. Although I think I got one person said that they really like the way, I guess, the steering wheel's shaped a little differently than the one in the previous pre-refresh Model 3. What else have they said? Nobody's commented on the screen in the back. I think I've only had one person. Oh, Model Y coming by. I've only had one person say anything about the screen, and that's only because I showed them. Because I was, showing them. I take that back, two people. And both of them, I was showing them all the things about the new refresh Model 3. One was a current owner of a Tesla that I was dropping off at the mall, so he could pick up his Tesla from the public charger there, the destination charger. So I showed it to him. And then there was a family with a toddler. I showed, look, your kids can do that. And even with them, that just, I think kids have handheld things so much now. I think kids have gotten so used to having handheld entertainment, and they all have it, right? So even if it's a young toddler that doesn't have an iPhone, a lot of families will have these, maybe not an iPad, but some sort of cheaper tablet that you can at least do entertainment for kids on. So it's interesting. It's a nice touch to have that middle console entertainment system, but I'm going to tell you, again, 100 is not a valid statistical population sampling unit. I will be the first to admit it. But I haven't had one person out of 100 say to me by themselves, oh, wow, it's got a screen back here. Not a one. I think society is kind of, you know, it's just, there's too many handheld devices now. Now they love the screen. So I think that's going to go over really big with the Cybercab. So if they love this screen, this 15, what is it, 15.5 inch or just 15 inch? And I forget how big the screen in the Cybercab is, but it's bigger than this one. I think it's more about like the size, maybe even a little bigger than the Model S screen. The newer Model S screen. So, I mean, if they love this screen, they're going to love the Cybercab screen. But yeah, you know, going forward, I mean, I'd love to see more data on what the average Joe Schmo or Sally Jane thinks about the middle console entertainment system here. But I'm telling you, and I don't know, maybe other car makers already have it in there, so it's kind of like you almost have to do it from a comparison perspective, just competitiveness. Like if you don't, like it's, in other words, it's something that it's not really given a lot of credit when it's there, but if it weren't there, people would talk about it. I don't know. You know, there are things in life, unfortunately, that just work that way. Like, nobody will give you credit for having it, but if you don't have it, 10 people out of 100 will say, I noticed the Mercedes or the BMW has a screen in the back and yours doesn't, even though, by my statistical reasoning, nobody uses them. So, just interesting on that, but yeah. That would be the only bit of almost close to statistical analysis I've done, empirical inquiries that I've done around Houston, is that, you know, if they were going to lose something and needed to save money, probably this middle console screen for the rear would be one area to start with. All right. See how we do. We're coming into on my neighborhood street. We're going pretty slow right now, much slower than normal. Interesting. And we're going 8 miles an hour right now. I mean, granted, that's nothing terrible with that, but I think we have a 10 to 15 mile an hour speed limit even through here. Let's see what's going. I think it's just going to parallel park right here. So, all right, everybody. Well, that was a great trip to the Vietnamese Buddhist temple. Spend time with family, stop by Sports Clips. No luck, we'll do it tomorrow. And yeah, we talked about Uber, so I'm loving it. And then I was the third thing I was going to say that I like about it is, like, yeah, it's actually I'm making pretty good money with it. I mean, like I said, I'm basically averaging with tips $25 an hour, and I've done it for 8 days. I've done Uber for 8 days now, done just a little bit over 100 trips, and I've averaged $25 an hour. So, I mean, for a retiree, you know, granted, I've got income coming in as a retiree, but obviously most of my net worth is, you know, in Tesla stock. I'm all in on Tesla, so that's for the future. I don't live off that. So I do have retirement income, obviously, coming that I've got coming in. But tell you what, I mean, if I'm making $25 an hour, I'm not going to sneeze at that. So, all right, everybody. Well, I'm going to head on back into the casa. Love all of y'all. Just wanted to do this non-Uber video for y'all. And I will talk to y'all again soon. Bye-bye.